Hola adventure seekers, welcome back. I'm your host and today we're venturing into one of South America's most mystical and breathtaking destinations, Peru. When you think of Peru, your mind immediately goes to that iconic Machu Picchu citadel floating in the clouds, right? It's the land of ancient Inca civilization, incredible alpaca textiles, and some of the world's most diverse and delicious cuisine. We're talking ceviche, quinoa, and flavors that will absolutely blow your taste buds away. Peru has this magical, almost otherworldly reputation with its rainbow mountains, Amazon rainforest, and indigenous cultures that have survived for thousands of years. But did you know that this ancient Andean nation has some of the most shocking, forbidden, and downright dangerous cultural taboos that could get you into serious trouble with locals, shamans, and even law enforcement? I'm talking about rules so unexpected, so deeply rooted in indigenous beliefs, that even seasoned South American travelers get completely caught off guard. Today, I'm revealing 15 mind-blowing taboos in Peru that you absolutely need to know before you set foot in this incredible country. Trust me, understanding these could save you from major embarrassment, spiritual consequences according to local beliefs, or even getting banned from sacred sites that you've traveled thousands of miles to see. Some of these taboos will literally make you question everything you thought you knew about travel etiquette. We're talking about innocent actions that locals believe can bring curses, gestures that can get you physically confronted, and food rules so weird they'll make your head spin. So hit that like button if you're ready to have your mind absolutely blown, share this with anyone planning a Peruvian adventure, and let's count down the most unexpected cultural landmines in the land of the Incas and incredible ancient mysteries. Number 15. Never point at Rainbow Mountain or sacred peaks. Starting with something that seems completely innocent but is actually spiritually dangerous in Peruvian indigenous culture. Pointing directly at sacred mountains, especially Vinicunca, that's Rainbow Mountain, or any snow-capped Andes peaks, is believed to anger the mountain spirits called Apus. These mountain deities are considered living entities that protect communities and control weather, harvests, and local fortune. Pointing at them is seen as disrespectful and challenging their power. Indigenous guides believe that pointing can bring avalanches, bad weather, or personal misfortune to the pointer and their entire group. Instead, Peruvians gesture toward mountains with open palms or their chin, never with a single finger. A group of Instagram influencers visiting Cusco repeatedly pointed at Ausengate Mountain while taking photos. Their indigenous guide became visibly distressed and performed a small ceremony with coca leaves to apologize to the mountain spirits, explaining that their pointing had potentially brought danger to the entire expedition. Number 14. Don't refuse coca leaves when offered by locals. This one will shock anyone concerned about drug laws. Coca leaves. The plant cocaine comes from are completely legal and sacred in Peru, and refusing them when offered by indigenous people is considered deeply insulting to their culture and spirituality. Coca leaves aren't drugs in Peruvian culture, they're medicine, currency, and sacred offerings to Pachamama or Mother Earth. Chewing coca helps with altitude sickness and is central to Andean spiritual practices. When locals offer you coca, they're sharing something sacred and showing respect. The proper way is to accept the leaves, hold them respectfully, and either chew them slowly or use them in traditional ceremonies. A German trekker in the Sacred Valley repeatedly refused coca leaf offerings from porters, citing legal concerns from his home country. The porters became offended and stopped including him in group rituals, explaining that his refusal showed disrespect for their ancestral traditions. Number 13. Never wear bright red to Inca sites. Here's a color taboo that could get you in serious trouble at archaeological sites. Wearing bright red clothing to Inca ruins like Machu Picchu or Sacsayhuaman is believed to disturb ancient spirits and show disrespect to deceased Inca royalty who are buried there. Red was the sacred color of Inca emperors and high priests. Wearing it as a tourist is seen as claiming royal status you haven't earned or mocking the spiritual significance of these sites. Some indigenous guides refuse to lead groups with people wearing red, believing it brings bad luck and spiritual contamination. The belief extends to photography. Red clothing and photos at Inca sites is thought to trap spirits in the images. A British photography group visiting multiple Inca sites wore matching red jackets for their expedition photos. Local guides at each location asked them to change clothes or cover the red, explaining that their color choice was spiritually inappropriate and potentially dangerous for everyone present. Number 12. Don't touch someone's traditional clothing without permission. This cultural boundary violation can cause serious offense in Peru's indigenous communities. Traditional textiles like colorful ponchos, chulo hats, and woven skirts aren't just clothing, they contain spiritual significance, family history, and community identity that shouldn't be touched by outsiders without permission. Each pattern, color, and weaving technique tells stories about the wearer's village, family lineage, and social status. The textiles are often blessed in ceremonies and contain protective spiritual energy. Casual touching by tourists is seen as spiritually invasive and culturally disrespectful. This is especially important in markets and cultural centers where tourists often want to feel fabric quality. A group of American textile enthusiasts visiting Pisac Market kept touching and examining local women's traditional skirts and shawls to appreciate the craftsmanship. The women became increasingly uncomfortable and finally explained that their clothing contains spiritual protection that shouldn't be handled by strangers. Number 11. Never whistle at night in the Amazon. Prepare to have your mind blown by this rainforest taboo. Whistling after dark in the Peruvian Amazon is believed to attract dangerous spirits, wild animals, and even mythical creatures like the tunchi, a malevolent forest spirit that mimics human sounds to lure people to their death. Indigenous Amazon communities take this superstition extremely seriously. Night whistling is thought to confuse the natural order and call unwanted supernatural attention. Guides will immediately ask tourists to stop whistling, explaining that the sound travels far in the jungle and can attract real dangers like jaguars or spiritual threats. The belief is so strong that some lodges actually brief guests about noise restrictions after sunset. A French ornithologist studying birds in Manu National Park was repeatedly warned by his indigenous guides about his habit of whistling bird calls at night. They explained that his whistling was inviting the tunchi spirit and potentially putting the entire research team in supernatural danger. Number 10. Don't step over someone's legs or body. This spatial taboo has deep spiritual significance in Peruvian indigenous culture. Stepping over any part of someone's body, legs, arms, or torso is believed to steal their spiritual energy and bring them bad luck. It's considered one of the most disrespectful things you can do to another person. The belief is rooted in concepts of personal energy fields and spiritual boundaries that shouldn't be violated. When you step over someone, you're literally crossing their spiritual space and potentially taking their luck, health, or positive energy with you. In crowded buses, hostels, or family gatherings, you must ask people to move their legs or find another path rather than stepping over them. A backpacking group in Huacachina kept stepping over sleeping travelers in their crowded hostel dormitory. Their Peruvian roommates became genuinely upset and explained that stepping over people steals their energy and brings misfortune to everyone involved. Number 9. Never pour chicha morada without offering to Pachamama first. This traditional drink ritual is absolutely sacred in Peruvian culture. Chicha morada, a purple corn drink, must always be offered to Pachamama, or Mother Earth, before humans can drink it. You pour a small amount on the ground while saying a blessing, then everyone can enjoy the drink. This offering ceremony acknowledges that all food and drink comes from the earth and must be shared with the spiritual world first. Skipping this ritual is seen as greedy, disrespectful to nature, and likely to bring bad harvests or food problems. Even in restaurants and tourist settings, many Peruvians will discreetly pour a tiny amount of chicha on the ground before drinking. A group of Canadian tourists at a traditional restaurant in Arequipa started drinking their chicha immediately without the earth offering. Their server gently explained the proper ritual and asked them to pour a small amount on the ground to show respect for Pachamama. Number 8. Don't give even numbers of flowers. You see, Peruvian flower-giving customs are incredibly specific, and breaking them can send completely wrong messages. Even numbers of flowers, especially pairs, are associated with funerals, death, and mourning. Giving someone an even-numbered bouquet suggests you're wishing them harm, or that someone close to them will die. Odd numbers, especially 1, 3, 5, or 7 flowers, are considered lucky and appropriate for celebrations, romance, or friendship. The superstition is so strong that florists will automatically adjust bouquets to odd numbers for Peruvian customers. This becomes particularly important for romantic gestures where the wrong number of flowers can completely ruin the message. A Japanese businessman trying to apologize to his Peruvian business partner's wife brought her a bouquet of 12 beautiful roses. She became visibly upset, and her husband later explained that the even number suggested death wishes for their family. Number 7. Never refuse to despacho ceremony participation. When invited to participate in a despacho or offering ceremony to Pachamama, Refusing is considered spiritually dangerous and culturally offensive. These ceremonies involve creating beautiful offerings with coca leaves, flowers, and food from Mother Earth, and everyone present is expected to participate. Despachos are performed for everything from safe travels to good harvests to healing illnesses. They're not just rituals, they're community bonding experiences that connect participants with ancient spiritual traditions. Refusing to participate suggests you reject Peruvian indigenous spirituality and don't want the spiritual protection the ceremony provides. Even non-religious tourists are expected to respectfully participate by adding items to the offering or joining in prayers. A group of European rationalists visiting a community near Lake Titicaca declined to participate in a travel blessing despacho, citing their atheism. The community became genuinely concerned for their safety, believing the tourists had rejected spiritual protection and made their journey dangerous. Number 6. Don't touch ancient stone walls at archaeological sites. This preservation taboo has both practical and spiritual dimensions. Touching stone walls at Inca sites like Machu Picchu or Ollantaytambo isn't just about preservation. Locals believe the stones contain ancestral spirits that shouldn't be disturbed by casual contact. The perfectly fitted stone walls are considered masterworks that contain the spiritual energy of the master builders who created them. Touching them is seen as disrespectful to ancient craftsmanship and potentially harmful to the spiritual balance of the site. Guards at major archaeological sites are trained to watch for wall touching and will immediately ask tourists to stop. The oils from human hands also cause long-term damage to the centuries-old stones. A group of architecture students from Italy kept touching and measuring stone joints at Sacsayhuaman for their research project. Site guards repeatedly intervened, explaining that the stones are sacred as well as fragile, and their touching was both culturally inappropriate and physically damaging. Number 5. Never turn your back on the Andes Mountains while eating. This dining orientation taboo connects eating with spiritual respect for the sacred mountains. Traditional Peruvian culture actually requires that you face the Andes while eating, especially when you're having quinoa, potatoes, or other foods that come from mountain agriculture. The mountains are considered the source of all food and life, so turning your back while eating is seen as rejecting their gifts and showing ingratitude to the apis, or mountain spirits. This can bring bad luck with future meals and harvests. In restaurants with mountain views, traditional families will specifically request tables facing the Andes. Tourist establishments often arrange seating to accommodate this custom, even if they don't explicitly explain it. There was an Australian travel blogger dining in Cusco who kept turning her chair away from the mountains to get a better Wi-Fi signal while live streaming her meal. Her Peruvian dining companions became uncomfortable and gently suggested she face the sacred peaks while eating to show proper respect. Number 4. Don't refuse to share your food if asked. ¿Me convidas? This food-sharing custom is absolutely sacred in Peruvian culture. When someone asks, ¿Me convidas?, which means, will you invite me to share? Refusing is considered extremely selfish and antisocial. You're expected to immediately offer a portion of whatever you're eating. This tradition comes from indigenous values of community reciprocity and hospitality. Even strangers can request food sharing, and saying no suggests you're greedy, untrustworthy, or, just don't understand basic Peruvian social values. The request is usually for just a small taste, but the gesture of sharing is crucial for social harmony. The taboo is strongest with traditional Peruvian foods like ceviche, anticuchos, or roasted corn. There was a group of American hikers on the Inca Trail who repeatedly refused to share their trail snacks when asked by local porters, citing hygiene concerns and limited supplies. The porters became less helpful and friendly, later explaining through their guide that food sharing is fundamental to Andean culture, and refusing it suggested the hikers considered themselves superior. Number 3. Never take photos of indigenous people without paying. This economic and cultural boundary is absolutely crucial in Peru. Many indigenous people, especially those in traditional dress, consider their image to have both economic value and spiritual significance. Taking their photo without permission and payment is seen as theft and cultural exploitation. The belief combines practical economics, since photos can be sold commercially, with spiritual concerns, because cameras are thought to capture souls or spiritual energy. Many indigenous Peruvians have learned that tourist photos often show up in marketing materials or travel blogs without any compensation. The proper protocol is to ask permission, negotiate a small payment, usually 1 or 2 souls, and respect if someone says no. Some indigenous people will pose professionally, while others will refuse any photos regardless of payment. There was a German photography group in Ollantaytambo who kept taking candid street photos without asking or paying. Several subjects became angry and demanded money, explaining that their images have value and shouldn't be taken without permission or compensation. Number 2. Never disrespect or mock ayahuasca ceremonies. This spiritual taboo could get you in serious legal and social trouble. Ayahuasca ceremonies are sacred indigenous healing rituals that are legally protected in Peru. Making jokes, showing disrespect, or treating them like tourist entertainment can result in being banned from ceremonies and facing social backlash from communities. Ayahuasca is considered a sacred plant teacher that connects participants with spiritual realms and healing energies. The ceremonies involve traditional songs called Icaros, strict dietary preparations, and deeply spiritual experiences that just shouldn't be trivialized or mocked. Even if you don't participate, showing respect for those who do is essential. The plant medicine tourism industry is carefully regulated, and disrespectful tourists can be blacklisted from participating in any ceremonies throughout Peru. There was a group of college students from the United States attending an ayahuasca ceremony in Iquitos who kept making jokes and taking selfies during the preparation rituals. The shaman immediately asked them to leave and warned other ceremonial leaders about their disrespectful behavior, effectively banning them from participating in any traditional healing ceremonies in the region. Number 1. Never refuse to make an offering to Pachamama before climbing high mountains. Here's the ultimate spiritual taboo that could have life-threatening consequences according to local beliefs. Before attempting any serious mountain climbing or high-altitude trekking in Peru, you must participate in offering ceremonies to Pachamama or Mother Earth, and the mountain Apis, which are the spirits. This isn't just cultural politeness, it's considered essential for safety and spiritual protection. The ceremony involves offering coca leaves, flowers, alcohol and prayers to ask permission from the mountain spirits to enter their domain safely. Refusing to participate is believed to anger the spirits and guarantee accidents, bad weather, or getting lost. Professional guides and porters will often refuse to accompany climbers who won't participate in these ceremonies, believing that unblessed expeditions bring danger to everyone involved. The offerings aren't just symbolic. They're seen as spiritual insurance policies that provide actual protection from mountain dangers. Even experienced mountaineers are expected to respect these traditions. A team of professional climbers from Switzerland attempting Huascaran refused to participate in the traditional blessing ceremony, claiming it was primitive superstition. Their local guides immediately quit, explaining that climbing without spiritual permission was too dangerous for everyone involved. The climbers had to abandon their expedition because no local guides would work with them after word spread about their disrespect for mountain traditions. The most serious aspect is that refusing these ceremonies is seen as not just disrespectful, but actively dangerous to the entire climbing community. Mountains are considered living entities that must be approached with proper spiritual protocol, and anyone who refuses this is viewed as bringing bad luck and danger to all future expeditions on that peak. Incredible. There you have it. 15 absolutely mind-blowing taboos that reveal the incredible depth and complexity of Peruvian culture. From the sacred relationship with mountain spirits to the intricate social protocols around food sharing, Peru is a country where ancient indigenous wisdom still guides daily life in the most beautiful and meaningful ways. But here's what I want you to really understand. These aren't just random rules or outdated superstitions. Every single one of these taboos reflects thousands of years of indigenous knowledge about living in harmony with nature, respecting community bonds, and maintaining spiritual balance in one of the world's most challenging environments. When you respect these customs, something absolutely magical happens. You're not just avoiding cultural mistakes, you're being welcomed into a worldview that sees mountains as living beings, food as sacred gifts from Mother Earth, and community sharing as essential for survival. Peruvians will recognize that you understand and honor their deep connection to the land and their ancestors. These traditions survived the Spanish conquest, colonial oppression, and centuries of cultural pressure because they represent fundamental truths about how humans should relate to each other and to the natural world. Understanding these taboos means understanding the heart of what makes Peruvian culture so resilient, so spiritual, and so incredibly rich. From the sacred coca leaves that connect people to Pachamama, to the mountain ceremonies that ensure safe passage through dangerous terrain, to the food-sharing customs that build community bonds. These practices reflect a culture that values spiritual harmony, environmental respect, and social solidarity over individual convenience. So if this video opened your eyes to the incredible wisdom embedded in Peruvian culture, absolutely smash that like button. Share this with anyone planning to visit Peru. Trust me, they'll thank you for helping them approach this sacred land with the respect and understanding it deserves. And don't forget to subscribe to Culture Shock Central for more insider cultural guides that will transform your travels from simple tourism into meaningful cultural exchange. What surprised you most about these Peruvian taboos? Have you ever experienced the spiritual dimension of travel in indigenous cultures? Drop your stories in the comments below. I love hearing about your transformative travel experiences and cultural revelations. Remember, when you travel to Peru with respect for these ancient customs, you're not just seeing tourist sites. You're being invited into one of the world's most profound spiritual traditions. You're learning from cultures that have maintained their connection to the earth and the sacred for thousands of years, and that's a privilege that deserves our highest respect and gratitude. Until next time, keep exploring with reverence, keep learning with humility, and keep honoring the incredible wisdom of indigenous cultures around our beautiful world. Hasta luego, culture explorers, and may Pachamama bless all your Peruvian adventures.